CaitlinClark's recent return to the court after a brief injury layoff sent shockwaves through the world of professional basketball. Facing off against an undefeated New York squad, she led the Indiana team to a statement win, dropping an incredible 32 points and displaying the poise, vision, and unmatched shooting range that has become her signature. The game itself was electric, but the aftermath turned controversial when it was revealed that Clark had been selected for a drug test, her 11th of the season, sparking backlash, memes, and confusion about how a professional league treats its brightest stars. This wasn't just any ordinary drug test. Context is everything. In a league where most players get tested 3 times a season, maybe 4 at the extreme end, Clark being flagged for the 11th time makes it hard to argue this was anything close to a random occurrence. She returned from a quad strain and instantly looked like she hadn't missed a beat, leading her team to a win over the defending champions. In any other major league, this would have been cause for celebration. Highlights would be everywhere, merchandise would be flying off the shelves, and the player would be heralded across media channels. Instead, the league's response was to question her legitimacy. The online reaction came quickly. Fans were furious, and social media lit up with ridicule, disbelief, and sarcasm. Comments like, "She must be using goat serum," or "Time to test the other teams for mediocrity," dominated the feeds. Others pointed out the stark contrast between how excellence is treated in other sports. In the NBA, a dominant performance by a superstar gets marketed, not investigated. The most stinging reactions came from people who weren't even regular WNBA watchers, but had started tuning in solely because of Clark's influence. These weren't just casual fans. There were supporters who bought tickets, jerseys, and subscriptions, only to see their favorite player treated like a suspect after every good game. Clark's performance wasn't some freak anomaly. Anyone who's watched her since college knows what she's capable of. The deep threes, the no-look passes, the unmatched floor vision. This is her norm, not an outlier. That's what makes the repeated testing so frustrating. It gives the impression that sustained excellence is automatically suspicious, as though it can't be real without some kind of enhancement. But what kind of message does that send to younger players watching the game, hoping to reach her level? Work hard, lead your team, and if you're too good, expect to be treated like a cheat. The issue cuts deeper when you realize the WNBA is in the middle of trying to grow its audience, increase player salaries, and enhance visibility. Clark is the kind of generational talent that most leagues dream of. She brings eyeballs, headlines, and fans from places the league has never reached before. There were fans flying in from across the world, including a group from Hong Kong who made a 22-hour trip just to watch her play. That's not normal for any player, let alone a second-year pro. That's global influence. And the league's reaction was essentially to question her legitimacy. From a public relations standpoint, it's a disaster. You've got a player who's actively expanding the league's reach, selling out arenas, lifting team performance, and making your sport trend globally. And instead of using that momentum to build your brand, you opt to test her urine. Again, instead of showing clips of her game-breaking threes or orchestrated plays, the media narrative got hijacked by drug testing reports. The social media commentary didn't just mock the decision. It used it to expose wider concerns. People started comparing Clark's drug tests to other players' stats, pointing out she's been tested more times than some players have scored double digits. One user noted, "She's probably been tested more often than the league has run national ads for its own games." Another joked she must be taking performance-enhancing basketball IQ. It sounds ridiculous, and that's the point the whole situation is. The math doesn't add up. 11 drug tests for one player in a season is beyond statistical probability for a random system. It becomes mathematically targeted. If you told someone that a single player had been selected randomly for testing almost 4 times as often as her peers, they'd assume it was a mistake. And yet here we are. The psychological aspect is another concern. Imagine trying to stay mentally locked in as a player when your reward for a great game is not media interviews or celebrations, but being told to hand over a urine sample. That has to affect mindset, performance, and morale. It sends the wrong message not only to Clark, but to the rest of the locker room, that excellence may come with scrutiny rather than support. Then there's the impact on league branding. People are tuning in for CaitlinClark. Ratings are up, conversations are happening, and women's basketball is gaining the spotlight. But instead of doubling down on this opportunity and making her the centerpiece of marketing campaigns, you have headlines about protocol enforcement. That's a staggering misstep in understanding how to build and sustain a sports brand. It's self-inflicted damage, and worse, it's avoidable. Historically, women's sports have struggled to achieve mainstream recognition. When a talent like Clark finally bridges that gap, the smart move would be to amplify her presence, not bury it under suspicion. This isn't just poor decision-making. It's symptomatic of deeper issues within league leadership and strategy. Players and fans are already forming an us versus them dynamic, where the community feels they must defend their star against her own league. That kind of sentiment erodes trust and damages the relationship between the sport and its most invested audience. If your supporters are mocking you more than they're sharing highlights, your strategy is broken. The comparisons to other sports are inevitable and damning. When an NFL quarterback throws for 400 yards, the headlines celebrate him. When Steph Curry hits 10 threes in a game, the NBA promotes it across all platforms. In the WNBA, when Clark hits logo threes and drops 30-plus on the defending champs, the response is to initiate a chemical investigation. That disparity is exactly what frustrates fans. It's like the league doesn't know what to do with success when it finally arrives. The union representing players should be furious. If this is how the league treats the most visible, marketable, and successful athlete on its roster, what precedent does it set for everyone else? It sends the message that success will be interrogated, not embraced. That's a chilling message in any workplace, let alone a professional sports league trying to build its reputation. Even coaches and analysts are quietly puzzled by the pattern. You'd think league officials would want to highlight a return from injury that looked effortless and dominant. Instead, they turned a triumphant comeback into a public relations mess. There's no scenario where this plays well, not with fans, not with sponsors, and not with future athletes considering this league as their destination. Clark's global appeal is undeniable. Her performance inspires not only fans in the U.S., but people from every corner of the world. That influence is rare, and it should be protected and promoted. Instead, we're stuck in a loop where every great game is followed by controversy, not celebration. The WNBA had a chance to frame her return as the moment everything changed, a statement win that shifted the season narrative. Instead, they chose suspicion over support. And now, instead of viral highlights, people are sharing memes about talent supplements and goat blood. If the league wants to grow, this is the exact opposite of how to do it. Players like CaitlinClark don't come around often. Generational talents are the foundation of sports leagues. They attract fans, fuel rivalries, and elevate everyone's game. The WNBA needs to decide whether it wants to be a league that embraces that kind of talent or interrogates it every time it shows up. Because right now, it's clear that many people believe they've chosen the latter. If you're serious about growing women's basketball and turning occasional viewers into lifelong fans, you start by respecting and uplifting your stars. You celebrate the ones who move the needle. The league owes its audience and CaitlinClark more than random tests and bureaucratic defenses. It owes them clarity, support, and a vision that doesn't confuse greatness with guilt.